CBS 12 News starts now with breaking news.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lily Ortiz.
I'm Jim Grimes. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis filing the official paperwork to enter the 2024 presidential race.
And tonight at 6 p.m., he'll participate in a live interview with billionaire Elon Musk via his Twitter social media platform.
Yeah, DeSantis right now is in Miami courting some big donors at an event.
That's right. And we have some coverage of the big announcement. Our Desantis is joining us from Miami, along with our Mike Magnoli, who has a special report. Alexis Cruz has more on the governor's platform. Victoria DeCardenas has filed a report on what this could mean for Florida. And our Amber Robb is getting reaction from people on the streets. Let's head to Miami and our Desantis, who has more.
Luli and Jim, I'm here in front of the Four Seasons in Miami, where we are expecting Governor Ron DeSantis to arrive within the next hour to meet with some big donors. Now that he's officially filed that paperwork, he can solicit that big money and those contributions. Also, in addition to that, there's been a lot of police presence, and here's why. A lot of protesters. Take a listen.
That's right.
This is the end of the damn rhino. You're the real racist.
That's right.
You're racist like you try to say Biden is, and Biden is a racist. But you, Mitch McConnell, you're the ultimate racist.
That was just one of the protest groups. Now that it's news time, you can imagine they're all coming out of the woodwork. So after this live shot, we'll go check out and see who else is protesting Governor Ron DeSantis' appearance and his campaign. Now back out live, Jim and Luli, there is no doubt that the governor's biggest supporter in all of this is his wife, First Lady Casey DeSantis. Now, take a look at this. Casey DeSantis already teasing the big announcement with a 30-second ad posted on social media. It has the caption, "America is worth the fight every single time."
They call it faith because in the face of darkness, you can see that brighter future. A faith that our best days lay ahead of us. But is it worth the fight? Do I have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice? America has been worth it every single time.
The video continues with a message that asks viewers to text the word launch to a 6-digit number. Casey DeSantis is the governor's closest advisor, the First Lady, also known for her public battle with cancer. She was declared cancer-free at the beginning of 2022, and that same year, she secured $100 million in recurring funding for cancer research. Casey DeSantis has also launched her Resiliency Florida initiative. That's a partnership with pro sports teams and others to address the stigma associated with mental health. Well, joining me now is CBS 12 Chief I-Team Investigator Mike Magnoli to talk about what has led the governor to this moment and what is next.
Hi there, Liz. Hey, everybody. Ron DeSantis has been Florida's governor since 2019, and party insiders have really been waiting for this day. They say that this is inevitable. That's because he's made a reputation for himself as being a rebel governor, and he appeals to a lot of folks who got fed up with COVID restrictions, who say they can't stomach any more political correctness. That paperwork is filed. We are now waiting on his arrival here, but he's in it.
Ron DeSantis was first elected to Congress in 2012 and was re-elected twice. Then in 2018, he won the governor's mansion in a tight race. But it was COVID that made Ron DeSantis a household name. Governor DeSantis allowed Florida businesses to reopen while most of the nation was shut down. He got kids back in schools and opposed masked mandates, but made sure that vulnerable seniors were first in line when scarce vaccines first became available. And he made vaccine requirements in Florida illegal. Remote learning during the pandemic exposed parents to what was going on in their kids' classrooms like never before. And mandatory masking was a polarizing issue. Through the State Board of Education, targeted legislation, and vocal support for like-minded school board candidates, the governor has given parents more say about what happens in public school. He signed a law preventing public schools from teaching gender identity or sexual orientation in pre-K through 8th grade. And that led to war with the Magic Kingdom after Disney came out against the legislation, calling it anti-gay. The governor then dismantled the company's self-governing sweetheart deal from the 70s, and the suits and countersuits will likely go on for years. Since winning a second term in a landslide last fall, the governor has enacted more of what he calls his anti-woke agenda, fighting identity politics, defunding diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at taxpayer-funded universities, keeping trans women from competing in girls' school sports, and blocking children from receiving medical interventions to change their biological sex before they turn 18. He also took a hard line on more traditional conservative issues, banning abortion after 6 weeks in the state and signing a slate of bills cracking down on illegal immigration. He is not just a Florida political figure, he's a national political figure. How do you think that happened and why?
I think it happened because of how he governed during the COVID pandemic. He fought the conventional wisdom at the time, which was to shut down and lock people up and close everything. And he did that for a while and then saw the folly of that and was one of the first ones to open up the state of Florida, and the people loved it.
Peter Feynman is a national Republican committeeman based in Palm Beach County. In July, he'll go to the Republicans' National Convention in Milwaukee and vote for the party's presidential nominee. Feynman says this primary season will be fierce. The rivalry between Desantis and former President Trump could divide the party like never before.
Because Donald Trump is obviously no shrinking violet, but guess what? Ron DeSantis is equal to the task, so it should be pretty wild to watch.
Do you think what he's doing resonates with a national audience, or do you think that he finds more opponents when he goes to the national stage?
I think Americans are quickly understanding that we have government schools. And so this idea of a governor getting involved in what's being taught in the school, or the Department of Education getting involved, and that being too much government in schools is just kind of crazy.
Tiffany Justice, co-founder of Moms for Liberty, a Florida movement that became national, says DeSantis understands the growing frustration among parents of school children who feel that education has become about indoctrination. And Justice says DeSantis has spearheaded the state policies that are much needed course corrections.
I don't know when I agreed to my child being taught that they could be a boy or a girl or a tree in kindergarten. And I think the message is resonating. I think that this is a message about protecting children and letting kids be kids that resonates with a really big group of Americans, and it crosses party lines, it crosses racial lines, religious lines. I think this is an issue that can bring parents together, bring Americans together.
Governor DeSantis is a husband and a father. He served as a Navy JAG lawyer and then a prosecutor before seeking public office.
And as you know, a lot of folks that run for president, first step in the process is writing a book. His book came out a while back, The Courage to Be Free. It became a New York Times bestseller. He says that it is a blueprint for patriots all over America. And as you were talking about some of the fundraising that's been going to be happening here tonight and over the next couple of days and nights, well, he already has a lot of money going into this race, north of $110 million. And that's been raised by a lot of committees working on his behalf. But now that he's officially in, he can do some of that fundraising on his own.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for that report, Mike. You know, for some, it probably feels like until now, the race for the Republican nomination has seemed like spring training or preseason football. Months ago, of course, former President Trump making his intentions known. But now that Governor DeSantis is officially in the race, the score is actually going to start to matter. CBS 12's Alexis Cruz joins us now with more on what makes Governor Ron DeSantis tick and how he's going to win over voters outside the Sunshine State. Alexis?
Liz, political experts we spoke with see Governor Ron DeSantis' track record boosting Florida's economy, keeping Floridians working during the pandemic, and raising teachers' salaries as strengths for his presidential campaign. It's his aggressive approach to an anti-woke agenda and more polarizing policies they worry about if he does in fact secure the Republican nomination.
Floridians have been, are, and will remain free to choose what's best for themselves and their families, and we will protect their right to work.
With rock-bottom unemployment and plenty of money in state coffers to fund taxpayer priorities, from public safety and teacher pay to infrastructure and environmental improvements, Governor Ron DeSantis gets high marks for his handling of Florida's economy ever since he reopened the state for business during the pandemic.
The economy has been the governor's strongest asset for a long time. He rates very highly among Floridians when it comes to his job performance on the economy.
His focus was keeping things open, getting people back to work, getting life moving again, focusing on the economy.
That's a track record that could translate well in a presidential campaign, but Florida's booming economy isn't the only reason Ron DeSantis has become a headliner on the national political stage.
We never surrender to the woke mob because the state of Florida is where woke goes to die.
People have been saying that a culture war will be something that he's also basing his campaign on. And how do you think that will affect him?
Well, that war on woke is certainly his calling card.
Taking a strong conservative stance on divisive social issues, from diversity and equity policies in public colleges to gender ideology in grade school, Florida's chief executive has not shied away from controversy. But some political observers warn his signing of one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the nation and allowing anyone who can legally own a gun to carry it in public without a permit might not play well with voters he needs to win the White House.
Permitless carry, the 6-week abortion ban. Those are some examples of laws that are not particularly popular with those moderate independent voters.
We've seen in past elections, the independent vote can be so crucial. And so what do you think Governor Ron DeSantis would need to do to win over those independent voters?
I think a lot of this woke stuff is going to get toned down to some degree. I'm sure it will not be eliminated. I think he's going to start toning that down, and he's going to more frame the election as a referendum on President Biden.
Before he takes on Biden, DeSantis has to get past the rest of the GOP field, including fellow Floridian Donald Trump. And how the governor squares off against the former president will be a contest America will be watching closely. Liz?
Thanks, Alexis. This day has been on the minds of many Floridians for quite some time. You may remember back in October during our CBS 12 News exclusive gubernatorial debate between DeSantis and Congressman Charlie Crist. Crist asked DeSantis point blank if he planned to run for president. Take a listen.
Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor. Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
But actually, the governor does not have to resign. That is state law. So he's going to have a busy year ahead of him, fulfilling two roles as governor of Florida and as presidential candidate. Our Victoria DeCardenas continues our live team coverage tonight with how exactly the governor is going to do those dual roles, juggling 2 full-time jobs. Victoria.
Yeah, Liz, like you mentioned, recent election law clarifies that Governor Ron DeSantis can keep his job as governor while also running for the White House. Political experts say Floridians won't see a big change in how Florida operates, but expect to see the Sunshine State on a global stage.
You can expect a media frenzy into the state of Florida.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis expected to officially declare his run for presidency today. But it's not just the governor launching a presidential bid. The state of Florida now has to prepare as well.
It's really going to be the epicenter of United States politics for the next year or so.
In April, Florida lawmakers clarified the Resign to Run law, which gives DeSantis the chance to run for president without having to resign as governor. The last time this law was used was in 2008, creating a pathway for then Governor Charlie Crist, who was once thought of as a vice presidential candidate for the late John McCain. This time, the results of the 2024 presidential election could shape Florida and Governor DeSantis' future.
If he wins the election, he's going to likely resign as soon as he wins.
Political expert Craig Agranoff says a change in power would soon follow. Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez would step in and complete Governor DeSantis' term as governor, making her the first female governor in the state of Florida.
There's going to be a big spotlight on her soon that she might have not been anticipating as well.
If DeSantis loses the next presidential election, the governor can return to his original post.
I think what we can expect to see is business as usual.
Florida State Representative Randy Fine says Florida will soon be on the world stage.
Given the way 99.999% of Floridians see him is on TV, I think you're going to see a whole lot more of them.
And of course, the governor has a long road to becoming the Republican presidential nominee. Both Agranoff and Representative Fine say DeSantis will have a very busy schedule for at least the next year. Liz?
Thanks, Victoria. So for now, we are standing by waiting for Governor Ron DeSantis to arrive for that big meeting. And of course, his big announcement on Twitter coming up at 6 o'clock. I hear a lot of noise coming from Brickell Avenue, so I'm going to head on over there and see what's going on and how many protesters are there and bring you that live coming up on CBS 12 News at 6. For now, I'm Liz Desantis for CBS 12 News, reporting live from Miami. Back to you, Jim and Luli.
Liz, thank you. And we are seeing some reaction on social media about the governor's announcement.
Yeah, former President Donald Trump now posting this message. It reads, Ron DeSantis can't win the general election or get the nomination because he voted to obliterate Social Security, even wanting to raise the minimum age to 70. He also goes on to call him disloyal person.
And take a look here. Can you tell the difference? The governor dropping FL, the abbreviation of Florida, from his Twitter handle. It used to be Ron DeSantis Florida, or FL. Now it's just Ron DeSantis. And we will continue to keep an eye on posts from public figures.
And once again, it looks like we are going to continue to see severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Palm Beach County. Looking at this until 5:45 as we have some heavy downpours of rain, tornado possible near Belle Glade. There was some rotation there, but we'll continue to see this activity across the area along the I-95 corridor. Also some flood advisories in place. I'll have a closer look at how long these storms will stick around, and we'll track them coming up in detail in my forecast in just a bit.
Just read, it's a lot of activity happening this afternoon, a lot of warnings, advisories.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of activity. It's been a lot of volatility out there. The atmosphere is really charged up, so we're getting heavy rainfall, also gusty winds, some hail, also some tornadic activity potential. So let's talk about what's going on. A lot happening as we track it on the camera here. We can see that we have a lot of activity here. You can see over towards Belle Glade, we have had some thunderstorm activity also along the I-95 corridor, up along the Treasure Coast as well. But right now, the main area that has the most activity right now is this area here. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for western portions of Palm Beach County until 5:45, and that's including Belle Glade and also Fremd Village and South Bay. There was a tornado possible because their storm has have some rotation in it, and a lot of these thunderstorms have been rotating a little bit with a little bit of that upper level instability. So what we're seeing here, looking at a lot of lightning with this, 108 lightning strikes in this box, red box, but we also have a little bit of rotation south and east of Belle Glade. So you see that red and green here indicating there is some potential rotation in this storm. So we're going to watch this closely, not pegging a tornado warning yet, but could be forming like a funnel cloud that could be just kind of descending from the base of a thunderstorm. But we'll watch that very closely as we continue to go through the next few hours. But we do also have some flooding concerns over some of the more populated areas along the I-95 corridor, also the toll road stretching down Route 1. We're looking at flood advisory for West Palm Beach stretching down to Lake Worth Beach, and that's until about 6 o'clock, and Green Acres included with that. Just south of that, Hypaluxo as well as Boynton Beach and down towards West Delray and Delray Beach until 6:45 because of some of the heavy rainfall that came down in a short period of time. That means there's existing standing and ponding water in those areas, so you may run into some problems driving home. So drive carefully, slow those speeds down because you could run into a little bit of hydroplaning out there. So here's what's going on. We do have an area of low pressure that's just off to the west of the state. That's helping lift the atmosphere, helping create a lot of lift and instability out there to create those showers and thunderstorms. And the concern with that is that between now and up till at least 9 p.m., some strong storms are still possible. Heavy rainfall, localized flooding, frequent lightning, and small hail is a threat as those storms push through. Now, for tomorrow, after those diminish tonight, we're going to start those temperatures off in the mid-upper 70s, warming into the mid-80s into the afternoon. Thunderstorms once again firing off after about 1 o'clock. So the highs will be in the mid-80s, inland upper 80s, 86 Indiantown, 86 Belle Glade, 83 Jupiter. Fort Pierce about a high of 83 degrees. Starting off with sun and clouds, then we get those thunderstorms popping off in the afternoon. So these showers end tonight. Tomorrow morning looks like we start off dry, but then we start to get those pop-up showers and thunderstorms at around 4 or 5 o'clock. Could get heavy at times. And then the same applies for Friday starting starting off dry. Then we get those thunderstorms moving through the area. The chances for rain will be about a 70% to 80% tomorrow, 90% Friday, dropping to a 40 to 30% through the weekend. So a little bit drier conditions for our weekend outlook. Not looking too bad. So if you're going to be going to the beaches, it won't be as bad as you see on the 10-day forecast. Temperatures in the mid-80s. Lesser chances for rain getting into the weekend and early next week.
All right, thanks, Venus. Well, here's a look from Drone 12 flying over Mar-a-Lago. You're watching CBS 12 News, the one to turn to.
Starts now with breaking news.
Well, with Governor Desantis in the running, Florida GOP supporters could be torn over who to support. CBS 12's Amber Robb hit the streets to talk to voters today.
Yeah, she joins us live over from downtown West Palm Beach with what people are saying.
Today, Floridians have mixed reactions over the possibility of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis becoming the next president. Some say they can't wait to support him in his presidential run, while others say he should stay right where he is. The future of Florida and the United States up in the air as we gear up for the 2024 presidential election. And Floridians reacting to the news of a DeSantis 2024 run.
I would support Governor DeSantis in his run for the presidency.
I'd be excited to see what he has to say.
Him becoming president, I don't know about that.
I hope he doesn't, but I know he will.
Some saying they support the governor, but they wish he would have waited on a presidential run.
He should stay in Florida and finish the job as governor because he's done so well.
I really would like to see him finish up what he started here. Him being prior military, I'm prior military. You never step out and don't finish the job you started. And I feel like if he does do that, I think he is pulling out before he needs to.
I just don't think he'd be the best candidate.
Several Floridians we spoke with say they love DeSantis, but they also have another Republican in mind.
I also favor someone else, and that's Mr. Trump. So I wish them both good luck, and we'll see what happens.
I would probably choose Donald Trump.
And others have different ideas.
Somebody like a Bernie Sanders, but probably younger.
This coming election I'm going to vote for Joe Biden.
Ron DeSantis. Nobody else.
One of the biggest things I've heard from people on all sides today is to get out and go vote this coming election. Reporting live in downtown West Palm Beach, I'm Amber Robb, CBS 12 News.
Well, coming up, testimony underway in the first-degree murder trial of a local former pro football player.
And with the jury heard during opening statements, that's next.